Hello dear friends and welcome to this video. Today we will talk about the 80-20 diet, which is about my experience as a diabetic with this diet. I'm not a healthcare professional, so this is only based on my own experience, and that is it. No professional advice. That is very, very important. And I have to say that for me, this was such a good diet that it's still something that I do to this day, and I really try to think this way. If you think like 30, 70 or something like that, I'm sure it's also fine. I guess everybody needs to find their own balance. Because for many people, when they do a diet, they actually gain weight in the long run, because then they stop on the diet and they go back to the normal everyday life and whatever you used to eat. And if you at the same time have slowed your metabolism and you go back, then yeah, you can actually gain more weight. So for me, also the thinking was then, what can I do actually my whole life? Which diet can I have my whole life, which is then not a diet, but more like a way of living, of eating. So this 80-20 type of diet, it fitted perfectly kind of with my life. So as a diabetic, if I eat whatever I want, I can get big problems with my blood sugar. It can go everywhere, and of course I want a controlled and stable blood sugar. But at the same time, I'm not that type of person who can only eat like the same thing and super healthy all the time. Also for my life quality, I need sometimes to eat whatever I want. And there are some meals I care less or more about. And of course, there's also some times during the week, like on Saturdays, I would prefer eating a bit more whatever I want, and on Mondays, it doesn't really matter so much. So that's also something to take into consideration. So what I try during a week is that around 80% of what I eat is very similar. So I know what I need to take from insulin to those meals, and also that it's healthy. So it's of course good for my body, which I need to take care of, especially as a diabetic. So this is kind of the thinking. And for me, from my own experience, breakfast is in general something I don't care so much about. So I really do breakfast super healthy. I did some research, found all the evidence of what a person with diabetes should kind of get during the day, from supplements or, for example, walnuts and things like that. And I try to make my normal everyday breakfast as healthy as possible. Of course, sometimes I travel, sometimes I have like a late brunch in the weekend, then it's something else. But like, let's say 6 out of 7 days, I would normally have a super healthy breakfast with a lot of nutrients, really like start my day very healthy and very good. And the same for lunch. I often do lunch at work, and then I don't want to focus also on work, on having low blood sugar, high blood sugar. Believe me, I had, and it's not very nice, especially I work as a teacher, to be in a classroom when your blood sugar is either crazy high or going low. So that is something I really try to avoid. So I really try to eat the same almost every lunch, and of course that it's healthy. In Norway, it's very common to have bread sandwiches for lunch. So I found a super healthy type of bread, which is very rich in different type of chia seeds and other types of seeds and nuts. So it's not too much carbs. And I also try to get some fish or some seafood products in during that meal, also to get very healthy omega-3s, which is very important also as a diabetic. So for me, often breakfast and lunch is like super healthy. But I do like for dinner to, yeah, change it a bit up, not have the same dinner every day. So there I'm not so strict. So my dinner is often different, and it doesn't need to be like for my sake, for my life quality, it doesn't need to be super healthy always. Of course, it mostly is totally fine, but whatever I kind of feel like, I often have. So I'm not too strict there, but I try, of course, in the normal week to not fill it up with junk food, but have something nice. But if it's more carbs or fat or whatever, I don't care too much. So for me, for my sake, dinner is very often something different and something that I want to make. I try to make it from the start, but sometimes in a busy life you need to do some shortcuts, and it will be some finished foods. But then also I try to do a little bit healthy alternatives than just frozen pizza. And in the normal week, I have some bad experience eating too late, and especially too much carbs or unhealthy food during the evening. So that I also try to avoid. So very often I would have some yogurt with some berries or some fruits, something like that. Also, then I know exactly the amount of insulin I need to take, and it doesn't spike my blood sugar before bed. And I try to do it 3-4 hours before sleep, so it's like digested, and I don't feel like super full and get some trouble sleeping. So that I also try. So yeah, my week is normally quite healthy, but of course, during the weekend there is the time I really like to think, what do I really want? And I think it's quite nice when I haven't had it for example, for a week. Then it's extra nice with some candy or some cake or some buns or cake or yeah, cake. I already said I really like cake or whatever. And it can be a pizza for dinner, a very nice hamburger for dinner. Like I really try to do it wherever I want, and it's easier often because I'm not at work, so I have also some time, and I can control my blood sugar a bit more after a meal, and it's easier. It doesn't need to be 100% strict. So I guess if you look at my whole week, I mean, it's quite like 80-20 in total. Most of my dinner is maybe somewhere neutral, and breakfast, lunch, and what I would eat in the evening is often quite healthy. And then for the weekends, I would eat just whatever I kind of feel like. And yeah, my long-term blood sugar is always quite good, and I think it's because of this type of thinking. Of course, it could be even better if I would only eat the same things and maybe even less carbs or just really super healthy things as well, but then I wouldn't feel so great. Like my life quality also kind of matters. And some people can do that, but for me, I need a little bit of variance, and I guess that's also maybe a bit healthy. So that's also something to think about. And for other people, they need a bit more. Then, as a diabetic, or if you have some chronic illness, maybe you need like 70-30 or something like that. So of course there is no like you need 80-20 in any ways. But I really like the way of thinking. Like I really am looking forward to when I eat whatever I want, and I really plan my meals the other time. So breakfast, which I don't really care about in everyday life, can easily make it super healthy. It's like the easiest thing. It doesn't affect my life quality at all. And the same with lunch at work. It doesn't affect my life quality at all because it's often like I have other things to think about, or we talk. The focus is somewhere else than the food. But then for dinner, I come home. It's really nice to enjoy a really nice and good dinner with what I want. And especially in the weekend also, nice juicy burger. And I have some time to, okay, watch the insulin. It goes a bit higher. Okay, I take a bit more insulin. And I'm not running somewhere like often in and during the week. So that's kind of my thinking. So I am personally a big fan. I have now very long experience with this type of diet, like 80-20, and I really enjoy it. I really like it. And I think for many people this is a good way of thinking, not just as like a diet, but as a way of living good as a diabetic and with diabetes. Hope this was nice for you and that you learned something, and if you have some thoughts, please share them. Have a nice day. Bye.